Welcome to Kitchen Chat. This is where we sample the talents of the most notorious chefs, home cooks, foodies, and celebrities that sizzle. Get ready for a culinary journey that you won't find anywhere else. Here's the host of Kitchen Chat, Margaret McSweeney.
Welcome to a special series of Kitchen Chat, a taste of luxury, history, and hospitality. This is your host, Margaret McSweeney, and I am so glad you are joining me on this delicious journey. Today, let's travel to Anderson Valley, located near the majestic Mendocino coast, where we will visit Fathers and Daughters Cellars, owned by Guy Pecura and his wife, Sarah Schoeneman. Join Guy and me as we travel by mule through the winding paths of the vineyard. Come enjoy a special wine tasting that features the flavors and hospitality of Anderson Valley. Let's savor the sip of Fathers and Daughters Cellars and discover the family legacy in every bottle. Well, this is just beautiful. I'd love for our foodie friends to hear about the history, the family history of this land.
Well, the vineyard itself was planted back in the late 60s by Dr. Farrington, where the name comes from. And my wife's family purchased it in 1996. It's a 160-acre vineyard, one of the larger vineyards that's still family-owned in the valley.
Wow.
80 of those acres are under vine. We're planted to Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, and Gewürztraminer. I think in the valley's known for their Pinots.
Yes.
But really the star fruit in the valley are the Gewürztraminers and the Rieslings. It's just absolutely the perfect climate for growing that fruit.
Now, why is it called Fathers and Daughters Cellars?
So my wife's family had always sold their fruit to other wineries. Then we had our daughter Ella in 2012, and we asked if we could make a Pinot in her honor.
Oh.
And so our first one was a Pinot, and Ella was a month old when we were harvesting. We harvest at night up here. She was awake at 4 in the morning, so she was actually in a backpack as we harvested.
How special!
And we were going to call it Farrington, but then my wife's dad did not want to compete with the wineries that were buying his fruit, and so we looked around the room and we said, "Well, we're a bunch of fathers and daughters." So there wasn't a lot of market research on the name, but man, in the last what is it now? 14 years? No, 12 years. It's funny, whenever we port events, it resonates with people.
Yes.
People will come over to our table because of the name, and then they send their friends over because of the wine. So it was lucky.
Love that. No, it's so meaningful because, as you know, dear foodie friends, the reason I host Kitchen Chat is to honor my late father, who was an amazing gourmand. So it's very special to be here at the Fathers and Daughters Cellars with you guys.
So we're going to taste something from the varietals here at the vineyard.
Yes.
What varietals are your go-to?
Champagne.
That's my wife. That's why we did the Sarah's Rustic Bubbles.
Fantastic.
She's a huge bubbles person.
Yes, yes.
So that was her Christmas present in 2016. 2015 was the label for our 2016.
Oh, I
bubbles.
love that. I like her already.
What you're drinking there is our Pet Nat. It's an old style of making sparkling wine called Pétillant Natural, where the fruit is pressed, bottled, and crown capped and not disgorged. So you'll still have sediment remaining at the bottom. And ours is all Chardonnay, but it'll drink between a cider and a sparkling wine.
It's so refreshing. It is light and crisp and bubbly and delicious.
One of the other winemakers in the valley calls it fresh squeezed champagne.
I love that.
So
it truly
I think
is.
it describes it well.
Absolutely.
Then we'll try our Sauvignon Blanc. These are the oldest vines of the vineyard, planted in 1969. And we're one of only a couple of vineyards that grow Sauvignon Blanc in the valley.
Really?
We'll also do the Dance.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great one.
I like that
Probably can't see it
name.
here, but she's dancing with her dad when she's a little girl.
I'm going to cry.
And then you wrap it around and then dancing at the wedding. Actually, we poured this at my older daughter's wedding 3 years ago.
How special is that?
So it's nice to have that. And then we'll be drinking a Pinot from the vineyard. I think it's going to be our 2020. My brother-in-law is bringing it up.
Great.
And then we have a Rosé of Zinfandel. Now this fruit comes from Nelson Family Vineyards, which is right over the hill in Hopland. And these are their 100-year-old vines.
Amazing.
And the proper way to taste is any way you feel comfortable.
Okay, well, let's start the tasting.
And we have some things that we're pairing with these today are going to be the Marcona almonds. There's a brie with mushrooms. There's a sopressata salami with Pinot in it, actually, from Journeyman down in Healdsburg.
Wow.
That's an old crock cheddar. And then we have some smoked duck and a little bit of Beemster, which is a great aged cheese, aged Gouda. And then we've got some truffle potato chips.
Love that.
And then we've got some fruit from the 4 varietals we grow here at the vineyard.
Yes, so could you point each one and
Sure.
which vineyard? Yes, which varietal?
So these are the Sauvignon Blanc grapes.
Okay.
The old vine ones planted in '69. These are the Chardonnay.
Okay.
Chardonnay's already been picked for the most part, and so what I was able to grab today was ones that they didn't deem good enough to pick, and I can tell it's because they got some sunburn on them.
So these are right off the vine.
Right, yeah, I picked them this morning.
Amazing.
And then these are the Gewürztraminer grapes, which I think are the prettiest grapes.
Pretty,
because they're
yes.
just a mottled pink and purple color.
Yes.
Which looks great when they're all hanging on the vine. It's really pretty.
Absolutely.
And this is some of our Pinot.
Oh. So would it be okay before we taste the wine to taste the grape?
Absolutely.
Oh, this is exciting.
So let me pour you, I poured you some of the Sauvignon
Oh,
Blanc.
thank you.
There you go.
And which one
And
is
that is this one right here.
Oh, terrific. So I just pick a grape.
Yep. So you can see what it tastes like before it's made into wine.
This is delicious.
So with our whites, the protocol is primarily stainless steel, except for the Chardonnay, which goes into neutral oak first and then into stainless steel. So all of our whites are going to be bright and crisp. Cheers.
Cheers. This is so refreshing.
This is probably our most popular wine, kind of the workhorse of our wines.
Yes, and the favorite one of your
my mother-in-law.
your mother-in-law. So cheers to your mother-in-law.
Cheers to Heather. This is going to be our called the dance.
It's great.
This is nice. So all of our whites are going to be dry.
Yes.
This will seem sweeter than it actually is because of the aromatics from the Gewürztraminer on the nose.
Wow. So fragrant.
This is great with seafood. It's also really
definitely
good
see
with Thai.
Oh, yes.
It's a really it's a good versatile varietal for us.
This is right.
Our winemaker is Phil Baxter,
Oh, okay.
and our wines are made on that far ridgetop that's kind of covered in clouds now,
Yes.
in an old barn,
Wow.
about as far from technology as you can get. He's a very hands-on winemaker, tremendously skilled, with a very light hand on the wines. So we don't use any new oak in any of our wines.
Huh.
So what you taste from vintage to vintage
Yes.
is what the vineyard did that year.
Incredible.
And he's also one of the reasons we first approached Phil was for our first vintage, Ella's first vintage, we wanted a wine that she could hopefully drink when she's 21.
Oh.
And Pinots are not known for being wines you can lay down. Phil is one of the winemakers who makes Pinots you can lay down.
Amazing.
And we just had a bottle of the 2012 2 weeks ago, and it's just still amazing.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's to be celebrated.
We're really lucky to work with Phil. He has his own label, Baxter Wines, and
Fantastic.
if you know nothing about wines, or you're kind of It doesn't matter one way or the other whether you have wine. And you go to visit Phil at his winery. By the time you leave there, you're going to be so excited about wine. This is going to be our Rosé of Zinfandel.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
The fruit for this comes from Nelson Family Vineyard, which is right over the hill in Hopland.
Okay.
The climate's hotter down there.
Yes.
These are their old, this is produced from old vines in, but the vines were over 100 years old.
Over 100 years old. Cheers to Nelson's. I am savoring each sip. This is so delicious.
Our wines are not high alcohol. Mm-hmm. They'll usually be between 12.9 and 13.5%.
Very manageable. Very clean.
Our 2020 Pinot. This one is from here at Farrington, 20 months in barrel, neutral oak, 100%. Then we bottle it and we'll lay it down for a year before we release it.
Amazing. And I notice it's called Ella's
Reserve.
Love that. And that's your...
That's our 12-year-old.
Amazing.
So she was the inspiration for starting this.
Well, we have to do a toast to Ella.
It's a toast to Ella.
Cheers to Ella.
Cheers.
Delicious.
This is really
very
good.
Light as well.
So that's something you'll notice about the Anderson Valley. For the most part, that's the style in the valley. There's a lighter, more Burgundian, feminine style of Pinot.
Very impressive. And I forgot to try the Pinot grape. Which one is that?
This one here.
Okay, the dark one. Mm-hmm. Let's try this. Exquisite. For the foodie friends, where can they purchase Fathers and Daughters?
So online.
Fantastic.
FAND and then a second D, then cellars.com.
We'll make sure we have the link so you too can experience this. Tell us about this beautiful chocolate.
So, we were stationed across from this gentleman who has the San Francisco Chocolate Company.
Yes.
At a wine tasting. And his chocolate was amazing. And I basically ate almost his whole inventory. And I felt so bad. I asked if he could do some chocolates up for us. So he made these little boxes. That's Ella and myself walking on the beach down in Mendocino.
I love that.
And they're 52% dark chocolate.
Wow.
And they just melt in your mouth.
Okay, let's let it melt.
With the Pinot. That's what I always say.
And it pairs so well. Outstanding. You can book a wine tasting at Fathers and Daughters Cellars between May and October. Visit www.fndcellars.com for more information and follow them on Instagram at Fathers and Daughters Cellars. Please visit kitchenchat.info and follow Kitchen Chat on Instagram, where you will find inspiration for your next destination. A big thank you to everyone at Fathers and Daughters Cellars for a wonderful tasting, and a special thank you as well to Chalkboard Communications. And thank you, dear foodie friends, for joining me on this journey. And always remember to take a moment and savor the day and savor the sip.